The market was burning. I remember the sound more than the flames. The whole crowded square turning into one animal, screaming and shoving, men trampling what they claimed to love. And through the middle of it walked an old woman, at the same pace she used for buying bread. She picked up a fallen child. She soaked a cloth at the fountain and held it over the child's mouth. And she walked out through the smoke as if the smoke had orders not to touch her. When it was over, someone asked her how she stayed so calm, and she gave the answer I have heard, in different words, from every genuinely calm person I have ever known. She said, "This was not my first fire. It was only the first one you could see. You have met a person like her. Somewhere once, the room filled with panic and one person in it slowed down, and everyone's eyes went to them the way ships go to a lighthouse. And you told yourself what almost everyone tells themselves. Some people are simply born that way. Tonight I am going to take that idea away from you, and you will be glad to lose it, because as long as calm is a gift, you are excused from it. Once you learn it is a craft, you are invited to it. Stay until the end, because when we finish I will hand you the entire practice, and it is small enough to fit inside a single breath. It has not changed in 2,000 years. Begin with the lie. The lie says calm people feel less, that their blood runs cooler, their fears sit quieter, their losses weigh lighter. I have known the calmest men and women of many centuries, and I can tell you their fears were the same size as yours, sometimes larger, because they had seen more. The difference was never in the feeling. The difference was that the feeling arrived in a trained house. Panic is what fear does in an empty building. It runs down the halls, opens every door, sets its own fires. In a trained house, fear arrives and finds the furniture already arranged, a chair set out for it, and a host who has been expecting it for years. So the question is how the house gets trained. And here is the part almost no one will tell you, because it sounds like an insult and is actually a door. You have already been training your mind for years, every day, with great discipline, in the wrong direction. Every time you lay awake constructing disasters, that was a repetition. Every time you rehearsed the argument on the drive home, gripping the wheel, that was a repetition. Every worst case you built in loving detail, every catastrophe you furnished room by room, was your mind in training, faithfully practicing the response you would later call losing control. When the difficult moment finally came, and your chest seized and your words scattered, that was not weakness, that was mastery. You performed exactly what you had rehearsed 10,000 times. The mind does not betray you in a crisis. It obeys you. It gives back, with perfect loyalty, whatever you have been depositing. Sit with that a moment, because it changes everything about what to do next. When did you decide, without ever saying it aloud, that imagining the worst counted as being prepared? I have watched this training run in both directions, in every century, and two people will show you what I mean. The first is a young man, strong as a door, who trains his body every morning until it obeys him completely. He can carry what others cannot lift. And one evening a stranger says a single mocking sentence to him, 10 words, and the sentence does what no weight ever did. It carries him. For 3 days he belongs to it, replaying it, sharpening answers he will never deliver. All that iron, and his mind had never lifted anything on purpose in its life. He had built the walls of the fortress and left the gate untended, because no one ever told him the gate was his to train. The second is a woman in the middle of her years who would tell you, and believe it, that she has no discipline at all. She is wrong. Her discipline is enormous. For 30 years she has risen early to worry, kept faithful appointments with dread, never once missed a night's rehearsal of everything that could be taken from her. When her hard day finally came, and it did come, she met it exactly as trained, shaking, sleepless, 3 steps ahead of every mercy. Afterward she said, "I always knew I was weak." She was never weak. She was a master of the wrong art, and no one had ever told her the same hours could have bought the other one. You are somewhere in those two. Most people are both of them at once. It does not have to stay that way. and the ancients knew a better use for the same machinery. They did not try to stop the rehearsals, they changed the play. The old Stoics kept a practice they called the rehearsal of evils, and it is still called that if you go looking. Each morning, briefly, with open eyes and a steady pulse, they walked through what the day might actually bring. Rudeness, delay, loss, bad news carried by a good friend. And they did not marinate in it the way midnight does. They visited it the way a general walks his ground before the battle, and then they left, saying, "If it comes, I have been here before." Do you see the difference? Midnight rehearsal happens to you, in the dark, with your heart already running. Morning rehearsal is done by you, in daylight, with your feet on the floor. Same machinery. Opposite ownership. There was one man who took it further, and his story is worth carrying. He was among the richest men of his age, a philosopher who dined with emperors, and on certain days he would put the feast aside, dress in rough cloth, and eat the cheapest, plainest food, a few days at a time, not as punishment, as a question. He would look at the hard bed and the thin soup and ask himself, "Is this what I feared?" And the answer, every time, was smaller than the fear had promised. He wrote to a friend that the man who has rehearsed poverty cannot be terrorized by the threat of it. You cannot frighten someone with a room they have already slept in. That is the whole architecture of trained calm, and I want you to see it plainly. The moment is the exam, never the classroom. Whatever you plan to be when the storm comes, you must already be on the clear days, because the storm does not build character. The storm reveals which rehearsal you attended. Therefore, the training happens in 3 small places, and none of them looks like training, which is why almost everyone walks past all 3. The first place is the morning. Before the day touches you, spend a short moment walking its ground. See the difficult person being difficult. See the plan bending. Watch yourself meet it slowly, and then leave the thought there and go make the bread. You are not summoning trouble. Trouble needs no summons. You are removing its favorite weapon, which was never the trouble itself, but the ambush. The second place is the small hardship, chosen on purpose. Cold water when warm was available. Hunger held 1 hour past comfort. The slow line stood in without reaching for something to fill the waiting. These seem trivial, and they are, and that is the design. Every small discomfort met calmly is a coin paid into the only account that matters, the one your body draws on when the true weight arrives. The woman in the market had been paying into it for 60 years. Nobody saw a single deposit. Everybody saw the withdrawal. The third place is the gap. Between anything that happens to you and anything you do about it, there is a gap. Fear wants you to believe the gap does not exist, that the insult and your flush of anger are one event, that the bad news and the spiral are welded together. They are separate. There is a space between the spark and the fire, and everything you are, everything you have ever trained lives in that space. The untrained man experiences the gap as nothing at all, a seam too fine to stand in. The trained one finds it wide as a doorway. He can step inside, look around, feel the heat of the moment pressing at the walls, and choose, unhurried, which of himself to send out to meet it. Which brings us to the practice I promised you, the one that fits inside a single breath. Come close, because it is going to sound like too little, and that is exactly what the real ones always sound like. When it comes, and it will come, do nothing for 1 breath. That is the entire teaching. 1 breath, taken slowly, before any word leaves you, before any decision forms, before your face even settles on an expression. In that 1 breath, 3 things happen that the panicking man never receives. The body, which cannot dread and can only be here, slows its drum. The gap, which fear insisted was not there, opens and admits you. And the rehearsals, all those mornings, all those cold water coins. Walk in through the open door and stand beside you, and you remember, without thinking a single word of it, that you have been here before. People will ask you, afterward, how you stayed so calm. They will say you were born with it. Let them. You will know what the old woman knew, walking out of the smoke with the child on her hip. It was not your first fire. It was only the first one they could see. Sit with this. Let it find its place in you.